Hello, it's hard to believe we're already in November, getting close to Thanksgiving, but do have the November board report for all of you. First of all, under consent agenda, we have bills totaling $15,486,421.90. Obviously, we have a lot of work going on with the bond issue, therefore we have a lot of bills associated with the bond issue. Also under consent agenda, we have a number of items related to Project Shine. First of all, we are going to let bids for epoxy floor finishing at the Project Shine schools. We're also going to let bids for carpet, LVT, stair treads, and cover base for these schools. We're going to let bids for LED upgrades at the Project Shine schools. We're also going to let bids for the replacement of interior and exterior doors at Project Shine schools. And we're going to let bids for restroom partitions at Project Shine schools. And then lastly, under consent agenda, we're going to let bids for HVAC and ventilation improvements throughout the district. Under Superintendent's report, first of all, I did talk a little bit about COVID cases. I'm very happy to say that they are remaining steady or actually going down in some cases throughout the school district. We did just recently implement a test to stay protocol. So if we have a situation in which someone is within close contact of someone that is COVID positive, there is now an option if they do tests 3 times within a 7-day period that they can stay as either an employee or as a student within the school setting. I did talk a little bit about student vaccinations. You probably heard that now students ages 5 through 11 can get a vaccination for COVID, and the school district is partnering with the Independence Health Department to provide vaccinations for our students and staff. The parade was also an item I did address. We did have the parade within the last month, and the number of positive comments that I heard from patrons throughout the community was really heartwarming. A lot of people really appreciated the fact that our schools came out and it felt like we were getting back to normal. So that was great hearing all of that positive feedback. I did talk a little bit about propane buses. We just recently received 11 more propane buses, bringing our total up to 22 within the Independence School District. And then also I talked about ISD Academy visits. So we've had in full force our Academy model for now 7 years. So really we are looked at as the premier program within the United States. So with that, we do have a number of school districts that come in to visit and learn more about our Academy model. So we recently had a visit, and we had schools from Carthage, Missouri, Lee Summit, Ozark, Melville, the Kansas City Public Schools, and Wentzville to learn more about our academies. And then lastly, it was great to see that Lainey Smith, who is a football player at Truman High School, was honored by the Chiefs, and she even got a chance to bang the drum whenever the Chiefs played the Packers. Under new business, we did have a bond issue presentation. Also, we had the approval of changes to Board of Education policies, and this was a second and final reading. These policy numbers are 0320, 0324, 2420, 2710, 4120, 4320, and 4322. And I won't get into all of the different policy changes as this was a second reading, but nearly all of them had to do with either federal or state guideline changes. Item 3 under new business, we had the approval of changes to Board of Education regulations. A regulation is a little different than a policy. A regulation gets more into the day-to-day application of whatever topic that we have to address. So we did have 3 Board of Education regulation changes. The first one was 2520. This amends our graduation requirements to allow students coming from schools other than accredited schools in Missouri to be excused for certain district graduation requirements. Now, we already allow this for Missouri school districts, but if we have a student that comes from out of state, we have 8 credits per year that a student is eligible for. Sometimes kids come from schools that may work on a Trister system, and there's no way they could get the 28.5 credits needed to graduate from an ISD high school. So this just allows us to look at their transcripts and make some adjustments. Also, we had Regulation 4320. This removes the COVID leave without pay provision that was put into place in August of 2020. Obviously, we're past that. It also amends our definitions of types of leave to include domestic and sexual violence victim leave. And there's a slight change to the military leave guidelines so that individuals will only be charged for leave hours that the individual otherwise would have been required to work. And then lastly, we have Regulation 4322. This is a new regulation that corresponds with Board Policy 4322, and it establishes definitions of the types of leave and activities entitled for leave. Also under new business, we had item number 4 was the approval of Board of Education guidelines and procedures for the April 5th, 2022 election. Just as a reminder, for someone to be a Board of Education candidate, number 1, they have to be a citizen of the United States, be a registered voter, they have to reside within Missouri for 1 year preceding the election, and be at least 24 years of age. Item number 5 was the approval to amend the transportation and driver attendant salary schedules. Certainly, we are not immune to what we're seeing throughout the United States regarding difficulty in finding attendants or drivers. We are making a mid-year change to increase that pay, and one, to attract new drivers, but also to retain the drivers that we currently have. Our beginning driver rate will go from $15.79 an hour to $16.50. And that includes a top of the scale moving from $22.21 an hour to $22.93. Our beginning attendant salary goes from $11.81 an hour to $12.43, with the top of the scale moving from $17.32 to $17.93 per hour. And this will go into effect January 1st of 2022. Item number 6 was the approval to accept a quote for the purchase of a 30-passenger van. We will have this in place, hopefully just because of supply chain issues, as soon as possible, but this does replace a current van. Item number 7 was the approval to accept a quote for the purchase of 10 more propane-powered school buses. This will now bring our total up to 32. We hope to have those at the beginning of next school year, but again, with supply chain issues, that's really hard to tell whether that will be a possibility. And then lastly, we have the approval of the GMP, which is the guaranteed maximum price for the kitchen and cafeteria remodel at Van Horn High School. This totals $5,323,124. This is about $400,000 more than what we had originally budgeted. Obviously, we're seeing an increase in prices to construction, but even with that, we did anticipate some overages within our budget, and really this is about getting the equipment and the additional space that Van Horn needs in their cafeteria and kitchen. So we're really very excited about that. So with that, that is our November board update. I do want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and I really appreciate all the work that everyone is doing for kids within our community. So with that, have a great November.